Hello dear students. In last lecture we studied about the structure of mantle and ciliary complex followed by the structure of integument and locomotion in phyla globosa, which is commonly called as apple snail. Now today we are going to study the digestive system of phyla globosa. So after completing today's lecture we should be able to know parts of digestive system of phyla globosa, study the structure of digestive system of phyla globosa, to understand the functions of various parts or organs associated with the digestive system. So let's begin with the digestive system of Phyla globosa. So we know that Phyla is a herbivorous animal and it lives primarily on aquatic vegetation like Pistia and Vallisneria. The digestive system of Phyla comprises of a tubular alimentary canal, associated digestive glands. So there are three major types of glands which are present. First are the buccal glands, second are salivary glands, and the third type of glands are called as digestive glands or also referred to as hepatopancreas. So today we are just going to discuss about the alimentary canal. So this alimentary canal is nothing but a coiled tube which extends from the mouth and it terminates into anus. So in your previous years also you have studied so many digestive systems in different animals. So it will be easier for you to correlate with those organs of the alimentary canal. Now the anterior part of this alimentary canal is specially modified, and we can divide this alimentary canal into three regions. The first region is called as foregut or stomatium. It includes the buccal mass and esophagus, and it is ectodermal in origin. The middle part is called as midgut or mesenteron. It consists of stomach and intestine, and it is endodermal in origin. The third or the foremost part is called as hindgut or proctodium, and it comprises of rectum and anus, and it is also ectodermal in origin. So if you see among these three divisions of the alimentary canal, midgut alone is lined by the endoderm, whereas other two, that is foregut and hindgut, they are ectodermal in origin. Now after knowing this division of the alimentary canal, we will see what are the parts of this alimentary canal. So it starts from the mouth, then it goes to the buccal mass. Now this buccal mass further has some organs or subparts, that is vestibules and jaws, odontophore and radula. We'll study each one by one. Then the third part of it is esophagus, followed by stomach, then intestine, and finally it ends into the rectum. So here you can see the digestive system of Phyla globosa. From this side you cannot visualize the mouth, but you can easily visualize the buccal mass followed by the esophagus. Then you have the stomach followed by intestine and then rectum. Now anus is not well defined, so it is like a sub part of this rectum. This is another view of the digestive system of Phyla, where along with these parts of the digestive system you can also see the associated glands like salivary gland, hepatopancreas, also referred to as liver. Okay, now we start with the first part of the digestive system, that is called as foregut. Now this foregut is further subdivided into mouth, buccal mass and esophagus. Now we will study each one by one. So the first part of the foregut, that is known as mouth, is a narrow vertical slit situated at the end of snout. There are no true lips present, but it is bounded by the plicate type of edges, and this mouth further leads into what is known as buccal mass. Okay, so you should remember that mouth is a very narrow vertical slit. There are no true lips, and it leads to the next part of the system, that is buccal mass. Now we'll see what is this buccal mass. This buccal mass is also referred by another name, that is pharynx. So buccal mass or pharynx is a large, thick-walled, highly muscular, pear-shaped structure. So we have started with the mouth, and now that mouth leads to the buccal cavity, and this buccal mass or pharynx is a pear-shaped structure at the floor of what is called as buccal cavity. And this buccal cavity is further having very thick walls and various type of muscles that are present. Okay, now if we see the structure of this cavity of, or the buccal cavity, is divided into two unequal parts. So what are the anterior part of this cavity of buccal mass is called as vestibule, and the posterior large part is called as buccal cavity. Okay, so this buccal mass divided into two parts. Anterior part is your vestibule, and posterior part is nothing but the large buccal cavity. Now behind this anterior vestibule, there are two jaw-like structures or true jaws which hang from the roof of this buccal mass and radula. So what is this radula? We'll see in the next slide. Okay, then followed by this radula, there is another structure that is known as odontophore, which is similar to the tongue, or it is also called as tongue mass. So on the floor of buccal cavity, there is a large elevation. That large elevation is called as odontophore or the tongue mass. What is the structure and function of it? We will be seeing in the next few slides. Okay, now this odontophore has two type of muscles, that is protractor muscles and retractor muscle. Now since it is a tongue like structure, it requires the movement, and those movements are carried by these two type of muscle, that is protractor and retractor muscles. Okay, now in this picture you can easily see the esophagus, then here you can see the odontophore which we have just talked about, and on this we can see the radula and the teeth-like structures of the radula or the radular teeth. They are also called as radular teeth. Okay, so we have just discussed about two jaws which are present. So these jaws, they are flexible. How is the shape? They are elliptical in shape, and they are chitinous structures. That is meant by they are made up of chitin. Now since these are the jaws, their basic work is the cutting of the any food material. So ideally phyla eats the vegetable matter, so all the aquatic plants. So for this purpose these jaws are helpful because they have the large 2 to 3 large tooth-like projection, as well as there are small serrations which are like saw-like structures. And so with the help of these teeth-like structures and these saw-like serrations, it can easily cut the food into small pieces. And these jaws, they require the very strong muscles. So those strong muscles are nothing but the sphincter muscles. So the jaws are worked by the or operated by the sphincters muscles. Okay, now we move on to the next part of the buccal cavity. So on the floor of the buccal cavity, there is a large laterally compressed elevation which is called as odontophore, and we also refer to as a tongue mass because it acts like a tongue. Like we have a tongue which is used for the grinding, or it can be similar purpose is served by here by the odontophore. Now this odontophore consists of two sets of cartilages and muscles which gives the support to this odontophore. So what are these two cartilages referred to as? So the first set of cartilage is called as superior cartilage and second set of cartilage is called as S-shaped lateral cartilages. Now further, this tongue-like odontophore structure is covered by an elastic membrane. So this elastic membrane is called as subradular membrane. Now what is this subradular membrane? This anteriorly give rise to a organ-like process or small process that is called as subradular organ, and the floor of this subradular organ. So it is like part of buccal cavity under the subradular organ and behind the odontophore is referred to as sublingual cavity and radular sac. Okay, so you have to remember that odontophore is a tongue-like structure. It is an elevated structure. It has two set of cartilages as well as muscles, and it has an elastic membrane called as subradular membrane. And further, this radular or the floor of this radular membrane is giving rise to the what is called as a sublingual cavity. Okay, now we move on to the next important part of the buccal cavity, that is called as radula. So what is this radula? So this radula is nothing but a brownish chitinous curved ribbon-like structure. Okay, and it is called as radula. Also, it is called as a lingual ribbon. Now, the anterior part of this radula, it bears a wing-like flap. Okay, so in next picture or in next slide, we will see the picture of radula. So here you can see it has a flap-like structure, and the posterior end is lodged in a band-like radular sac. So in this you can see there is a presence of this radular sac. Okay. Now below this radula lies a elastic subradular membrane, and the dorsal surface of radula bears many teeth-like structures arranged in transverse rows. So if you see in this picture, you can see that there are many rows to these black dots. These are several rows of, these are nothing but the rows of teeth. So if we see this single row, so a single row contains 7 teeth. Now they are arranged in a particular fashion. So there is a one central teeth that is called as rachidian. Then there is one lateral teeth on the central teeth. So there is one central, then you have one on the either side as lateral, and then you have two teeth as the marginal teeth. So the teeth arrangement formula of the radula is 2 1 1 1 2. Now previously also we have seen that this radula is called as a rasping organ. So it is very helpful in the feeding of the pila globosa. And this radula needs to be moved. So it is moved forward as well as backward onto the odontophore by two sets of muscles. Those two sets of muscles are called as protractor muscles and retractor muscles. So by protractor muscle it is moving forward, and by retractor muscle it is moving backward. And this forward backward continuous movement is also referred to as a chainsaw movement. Okay, so you must have seen a chainsaw which is used to cut trees. So it has the similar kind of a movement. Now these teeth, we have seen the rows of teeth. These teeth are chitinous in origin. That means they are made up of chitin. They have very sharp cutting projections which acts like a file which you use for the sharpening purpose, and they can easily rasp or break down the vegetable food. The teeth of radula also they burn out after some time. Once they are used continuously, they will also deteriorate or burn out, and so needs to be new teeth needs to be given rise to. So these new teeth take the position of the old teeth, and they are formed by the type of cell. Those are called as odontoblast. Now above this radula and on the roof of buccal cavity, you can see these digestive glands are present. Okay, we will be studying those in detail in the next lecture, but you can understand where the position of this digestive gland is below the radula and on the roof of the buccal cavity. Also, in between these digestive glands, there are openings of the salivary glands are also present. So these are the two important glands which are used for the digestion of the food. Now we move on to the next important part, that is esophagus. Now after the buccal mass, this buccal mass leads into a long narrow tube-like structure that is called as esophagus. And from this esophagus there arise two or pair of rounded structures. These rounded structures or pouch-like structures are whitish in color, and they are called as esophageal pouches. Now they are present below the duct of the salivary gland, and the exact function of these esophageal pouches is not yet known, but they are considered to probably secrete the digestive enzymes. Okay, so these esophageal pouches, they are involved in the process of producing some digestive enzymes. Now these esophageal pouches also serve for the temporary storage of food, and here the digestion process starts in these esophageal pouches. So the first digestion starts from the esophageal pouches. Also, it is being seen that some extracellular digestion is brought about in the stomach by the enzymes which are produced by salivary glands as well as these esophageal pouches. Okay, we come to the midgut now. We have seen the parts of the foregut. Now the middle portion of the alimentary canal we have called it as midgut. It includes the stomach and intestine. Now we see the first part of this midgut, that is stomach. So the stomach begins on the left side below the pericardium, which is the layer of the heart. Now it shows backward movement, then it moves posterolaterally, and so this stomach runs backwards onto the posterolateral sides of the visceral mass. Now, if you see the structure of the stomach, it is a rectangular sac-like structure which is dark red in color, and it has a U-shaped internal cavity. Okay, and that internal cavity is also rose red in color. Now, the stomach is differentiated into two similar chambers. The first is called as cardiac chamber or cardiac stomach, and the pyloric chamber or pyloric stomach. Now in this cardiac chamber, which is rounded in appearance or in structure, it possesses many longitudinal folds on its inner surface, and the esophagus opens into the cardiac chamber. Okay, so remember this. Followed by there comes the second chamber of the stomach, that is pyloric chamber, which is tubular in shape, and it has transverse folds on its inner surface. So on cardiac stomach is rounded and it has longitudinal folds. On the other hand, pyloric chamber is tubular in shape and it has transverse folds. Now from this pyloric chamber arises a short bag-like structure that is called as cecum. So cecum is also referred to as a pyloric part of the stomach. Now the ducts of the digestive glands opens into the stomach at the junction of both these two chambers, that is a cardiac chamber and pyloric chamber. So at the junction of these two chambers, the ducts of the digestive glands they open. Okay, so here also you can see these salivary glands where they are situated. You can see the esophageal pouches. You can see the position of that bag like or pouch like structure which is called as a cecum, and we have seen that esophageal pouches there are two in number. Okay, now we move on to the next part of the midgut, that is known as intestine. So after the stomach comes the intestine. So it is a coiled tube-like structure which starts from the or which arises from the pyloric chamber of the stomach and which runs along the anterior edge of this pyloric chamber, and further it runs along the digestive gland beneath the posterior renal chamber. So this is the position of the intestine. Now after that it turns upwards and backwards, and it forms a 2.5 to 3 coils between the gonads and the digestive glands before it joins to the final part of the your digestive system, that is rectum. Okay, so I'll repeat that it is a coil structure. It starts from the pyloric chamber, then it moves along the interior edge of this pyloric chamber, then it goes to the posterior or posterior renal chamber, then it turns upwards and backwards along this visceral mass in the form of uh, 2.5 to 3 coils, and then ultimately it joins to the rectum. Okay, so this is about the intestine. We move to the last part of the digestive system, which we have called it as hindgut. So the rectum or terminal part of alimentary canal is thick wall tube. So the rectum is the part of hindgut, and it is the your terminal or the end part of the alimentary canal, and it is very thick walled. Now it also turn forward from the intestine. Okay, so rectum is starting from the end point of your intestine. It runs forward through the first branchial chamber of mantle cavity, then it goes alongside of the tenedium, which is also known as gill, and then finally it opens through the anus and just little behind the nostril lobe, right nostril lobe. So in previous lecture we have seen that there are two lobes, right and left nostril lobe. So these rectums, which is starting from the intestine, end part of the intestine, then it runs forwards through the branchial chamber, it goes to the tenedium, and it finally opens through the anus near the right nostril lobe. Now this mucosal layer of rectum has all the three type of cells, and the unique feature of the rectum is presence of a broad longitudinal ridge like structure that is also referred to as a typhlosole. Now the typhlosolar core, that is the central part of this typhlosole, contains various connective tissues and longitudinal muscle fibers. So if I summarize rectum, it is the starting from your intestine, then it runs through the branchial chamber of the mantle cavity, then to the tenedium, and finally it opens in the form of anus just near the right nostril lobe, and it is unique in that it has a presence of this typhlosole, which is nothing but a ridge like structure, and it The core of the cephalosole contains many connective tissues and longitudinal muscle fibers. Okay, so if we summarize today's lecture, today we studied the digestive system of the Pila globosa, in which we studied the alimentary canal and the associated organs with it. In the next lecture, we will study the associated digestive glands, the process of digestion in detail. So with this, we conclude today's lecture. I thank you for your patience here.